This is my assigned project for Mr. Pop's film class. It's based on a scene analysis from the movie Argo, directed by Ben Affleck and based on a true story. So in 1979, the American embassy in Iran was invaded by Iranian revolutionaries and several Americans were taken hostage. However, 6 managed to escape to the official residence of the Canadian ambassador, and the CIA was ordered to get them out of the country. With few options, exfiltration expert Tony Mendez devised a daring plan, which was to create a phony Canadian film project looking to shoot in Iran and smuggle the Americans out as his production crew. With the help of some trusted Hollywood contacts, Mendez created the ploy and proceeded to Iran as its associate producer. However, time was running out, with the Iranian security forces closing in the truth, while both his charges and the White House had doubts about the operation themselves. This is one of the final scenes of the movie that shows the last bit of suspense. Tony and the 6 hostages have escaped all danger, passed the airport security, and are ready to head home. Once the fake production crew is already in the plane, the Iranian security forces discover what their real identity is. So they head out of the airport and as fast as possible and try to attend to stop them before the plane takes off and take the hostages back to where they were first captured. The scene takes place at the Iranian airport. The hostages have already been seated and are waiting for the plane to take off. Meanwhile, the Iranian police and military men are on their way to get them. As an establishing shot, cop cars followed by armed men are rushing to get to the plane. The first part of the scene establishes what the suspense is going to be about. We first see a shot of the cop car, and then Affleck cuts to a close-up of the air traffic control, informing the pilot of the plane that they're ready to take off. The next shot is a frame of the military men following the plane. This specific frame is essential in order for the audience to understand what the established distance is between both sides. After this, we cut back to a close-up of the pilot's hand pushing the handle, getting ready to take off. So we see action from the military men and the police getting close. Meanwhile, we know the plane is getting ready to leave and save the hostages. Lastly, we see a close-up of 2 nervous faces of 2 of the hostages, which adds suspense because we, just like them, don't know what's going to happen. The suspenseful part of this scene can be structured into 3 parts. The first part is made of quick intercutting of close-ups of different camera angles of the police car. Again, this was quick intercutting, where each cut in this part of the scene is about 3 seconds long, which was mainly made for the audience to feel as a part of the action without realizing it, and to point out how quickly they're trying to get to the plane. As the scene progresses, each cut shows different angles of the car getting closer. The second part is a combination of medium to long shots of the plane and the police and military vehicles in the same frame but at different angles. These shots are meant to keep the audience informed at all times of the distance the 2 sides are in and how close they're getting to one another. Lastly, the third and last part is mainly a combination of close-ups of the hostages' faces getting more nervous by the second. Each close-up gets cut for 1 to 2 seconds by going back to another shot of the cars and the plane, mainly to remind us that they're still in deep trouble due to the distance they're in. The last close-up we see in the suspenseful scene is Antonio looking out the window and finally realizing they're being chased. The lighting throughout the scene is not an essential factor of the suspense. It stays fairly neutral throughout the scene, and especially at the eye levels of the hostages. The scene starts with exaggerated loud sounds of cars. The sound of the car gets mixed with the sound of the plane, making it louder than necessary. After the starting distance has been established, the music slowly begins to play. This is once the pilot confirms that they're ready for takeoff.
X3 cleared for takeoff.
As the scene progresses, the music gets louder. The shots inside of the plane are completely quiet. So whenever we're looking at a shot inside the plane and then cuts to a shot of outside, we realize how loud it actually is and feel the suspense increasing. The music, however, doesn't play throughout the whole scene. It stops when Antonio sees the cars from his window and continues to play on the next shot of the cars. This repeated contrast makes us realize how into the action we are and where we don't even realize that the music was playing in the first place. There are multiple camera angles within the suspenseful scene. The camera is mainly positioned somewhere within the action, which gives us more of an intensive effect than to just show the action in long shots. The two angles mainly used are low angles and eye level angles. The first low angle we see is when the camera is located at the bottom of the plane, where you can see part of the wing and the cop car and the military men under it. This sets suspense, since it's kind of a surprise for the audience to see how close they actually are. In a different shot, the camera is located next to one of the wheels of the cop car, putting us in the same point of view as the wheel. Lastly, Affleck uses this interesting shot where the camera is located by the windshield of the cop car, giving us a view from under the plane and what the police actually see. The eye level shots are mainly close-ups of the hostages, where their face expressions make it clear that they're not very relaxed about the situation. Right after the plane takes off, we as an audience are calmed by the long shot of the plane flying away. However, we do cut back to angered military men yelling at the air traffic control. This means the refugees are not completely off the hook yet. The framing later turns much wider, and since we leave this suspenseful scene, the next few cuts will mainly be close-ups of the refugees' nervous faces once they're in the air. The pacing later slows down dramatically as the hostages are just staring at the phone, waiting for the flight attendant to confirm the takeoff. The flight attendant confirms takeoff, which means the hostages are now safe. The next shots are going to be medium shots of the hostages, the CIA, and the rest of the production crew celebrating their survival. The music stops once the plane takes off, where we only hear the plane. The next 15 seconds consist of waiting for the flight attendant to confirm takeoff, which are pure silence. Then, once we know the hostages are safe and on their way home, a relaxing and pleasant melody comes on for the rest of the scene. This gives us a pleasant feeling since we're assured that there is no longer any danger for the hostages.
Ladies and gentlemen, it is our pleasure to announce that alcoholic beverages are now available as we have cleared Iranian airspace.
Camera movement is for half of the scene, which is the suspenseful part, is essential as it adds suspense since it follows the action. Camera advances at the speed of the car, which causes us to feel like we're part of the movie. Again, there's the 2 to 3 seconds total where the camera is located inside the cop car, which, like I said before in camera angles, makes it even easier for us to picture how close the two are from one another, and it gives us a better idea of what the speed that is being used. Tilt movement is also used a lot in this scene. There's a part where the camera starts on the floor and works its way up for us to see the shot that determines the distance between the cars and the plane. The only time where the camera stays still is when they're showing the refugees, which makes a contrast between both situations. Where outside the plane there's a stress of the cars getting closer and closer to the plane, then there's a sitting inside the plane where there isn't much that can be done but wait. The camera moves around the plane, which makes us lose sight of the car. Once it's shown, we can see that it's closer than it was before. Tilt movement is mainly used in this scene so the audience can lose track of either the car or the plane. By the end of the chasing scene, the camera shows just the car and then tilts to the other side where the plane is already in the air, which causes surprise and relief.